In today's session, we will see what is research, concept of research, characteristics of scientific method, types of research, design, research gap, research question, and data collection, and I will summarize it. Okay. We know already Dr. Mendoza sir has taken that what is research. Okay. Research is an organized inquiry carried out to provide information for solving problems. Okay. The research starts with the problem and it ends with the having the solution, and also it gives us to a new problem to solve it. Okay. This is the beauty of an research. It is the cornerstone for every science. Okay. For not only every science, it is an arts also. For an growth and development, we need an research. So if we see the research, okay, the anatomy of the word research, okay, it came from research. Okay. Re means again and again. Search means find. Okay. When you will finding again and again something, the new outcomes will be there. This is a process. Means it is a step by step or having in phases. Okay. If you see in a very advanced way of seeing the process, it is a open process. Okay. It is having it is a system. Process is a system. It is having an input, throughput, and output, and having a feedback. This is the concept of an research. Of course, if you see in Webster's dictionary, they define it is a careful, critical inquiry or an examination in seeking facts or principles, diligent investigation in order to ascertain something. Okay. Means it is always a critical one. It is having its own steps and it is having its own principles, and we follow it for finding out the solution. So research is the systematic process of collecting and analyzing information, or what is saying data, to increase our understanding of the world in general and the phenomenon under study in particular, which we have taken as a for the study. Why we conduct? Okay, because we conduct as an academicians for our own growth. Okay, researchers for adding the knowledge. So many centers, universities, practitioners. Okay, why we conduct? Okay, for better informed. Okay, where everybody has to get an information, the knowledge, less biased decisions at every step of in life. Okay, in contrast to guessing, hunches, intuition, and other personal experience, we need an evidence. Evidence comes through research. Therefore, research consists of what? Facts, and it includes the fact. Okay, fact. Okay, which is true in nature, and we conclude it. Okay, and how? Very, very important. This word how means how it has came. It is always when it solves. Okay, it is always in scientific in nature and critical, having an components. Okay, so research is an iterative process that eventually seeks to explain or solve an identified problem. So this is the concept of an research. So always we say that research is a scientific in nature or scientific method. So say that it is a scientific, it's having its own characteristics. It is always a tentative in nature. Okay, it goes on changing. Okay, it is not a permanent, it's not a constant. Okay, it is always changing. It is always dynamic in all the spheres. Empirically verifiable means it is researchable for different questions or in different settings at different populations at different context. Okay. Next, it is an ethically neutral. Okay, what harm or risk involved to response, confidentiality, and privacy. Okay, very, very important. We'll follow the ethical principles of an research, having an non-maleficence. Okay, then it must be beneficial, no harm. Okay, then in all the honesty. Then having an best practices. Okay. Next, shared and made public. Always, it is not an conceived one. It is already open. I told you that research is an open method. So whenever whatever we will get in results, it must be shared. It must be critiqued, and it must be useful for the public in the way of doing. So when before going for other things, okay, we'll see what is research methods. Okay, research methods will tells you how to accomplish your research task, how you are to do it. Okay, procedure of how to initiate, carry out, and complete a research task. It is known as a research method. Means how you do. Research methodology is the approach or guidelines to conducting research. How you go through it, okay? It's a process. It provides principles for organizing, planning, designing, and conducting research. It is known as a research methodology, means how you carry on the process. So why you have to go for a research? Okay, the main three things, factors, okay, for going for research is to explore it, explore the knowledge, to describe it and explain it. Okay, these are the three fundamental purposes of doing research. So there are, on this basis, there are so many types of studies that came out in research. It's based on how you approach, okay, what type of thinking, okay, in which context you will do the research. It is maybe in deductive versus an inductive, okay, nature, how you conduct, exploratory versus an explanatory, policy decisions, descriptive versus analytical, need, whether it is a basic need or an applied. I want to solve the immediate one. Structure, quantitative versus qualitative. Time, depending upon availability of the researcher, it is a one-time or a longitudinal. Location, whether you are doing in a laboratory, okay, in a simulation way, or on the field, or in the community, or in the social ways. Next, in a medicinal, if you see in a clinical, it is a foreign test or diagnostic. Okay, these are the some of the studies of research we can carry on. So on this basis, research, okay, on purpose, okay, we can classify it to fundamental research, or also called as pure research, basic and lab research, applied as an evaluation research, action research, and social impact research. I told you that on the basis of how you approach, okay, it is in deductive research, okay. It purports to conclusive based on reasons which agree with the real world. Deductive, okay, from whole to you will come to very specific things. Reasons are said to imply conclusion representing proof which are very, very valid. Like if you say in marketing, okay, sales were down 5. Okay, all employees of the institution can be trusted for ethical code. It is a deductive approach. Next is the inductive approach, deadly opposite to deductive. Here, from the fact to we'll go for the information bigger view. No strength of a relationship between reasons and conclusions. Conclusions are drawn from one or more particular facts or pieces of an evidence. Okay, we'll go on adding the evidence, then it gives rise to a new theory or a new model. Conclusion explains facts, support conclusion. Hypothesis is constructed and conclusions are compared with the hypothesis. Say that in 5 academic score didn't increase in some of the students. Okay, for this one, we can go for an inductive research because there are so many constraints or variables are in this one is an involved. So it goes on adding it, then it gives rise to some of the new information. Next one is the basic research. Basic, the name itself, it shows that one. It is a starting point for search for new knowledge. What you say? Knowledge. Okay, it adds knowledge. It adds a new information to the domain of the science or any field of knowledge. It provides a foundation for knowledge and foundations that are generalizable to many policy areas, problems, or any areas of the study, whatever it may be. Okay, it is it gives it adds a new knowledge, a new information to that respective domain of the research. You can use the tools as in methods, theories, and ideas as in basic research. Of course, it is not as such that to formulate or to test it. It is to add because of the curiosity of the researcher or interest in its scientific question. Why it occurs? Okay, to find out the reason and to add a new information. The main motivation is to expand man's knowledge, not to create or invent something. There is no obvious commercial value to the discoveries that result from basic research. For example, if you see that one, okay, this is the truth that one, how universe begin. Okay, there are so many theories are there, but what's the exact theory? What is your view? Or through scientific process, what do you do and what you add it? Okay, is the basic research. What are protons, neutrons, or electrons composed of? Okay, how do slime modes reproduce? Then what is the specific genetic code of the fruit fly? Okay, these are the some of the things like if you see a spore, okay, in a slime, then it becomes as an amoeba, then it changes, okay, then aggregating amoeba, then pseudoplasmodium, then slug, then carp, okay. This is the way of the life cycle of a slime. So it goes on adding it the knowledge. So this is called as a basic research. Basic research is will adds in new information to already existing one. Next one is the applied research. Okay, it refers to scientific study and research that seeks to solve practical problems. Okay, what is there? Applied one. Think that when you are doing a research, okay, research is a very common, but you are applying it in microbiology or in pathology. Applied research is used to find solutions to everyday problems, cure illness, and develop innovative technologies rather than acquire knowledge for knowledge sake. Okay, very, very important. Applied. Okay, now think that on the burning problem is in monkeypox. Why it is aggravating now? Okay, this is an applied research. How to cure it, for example, or on how to control it, or on how to prevent it. For example, applied researchers may investigate ways to improve agriculture crop production, health conditions, especially to treat or cure specific diseases, especially if you see in today's scenario, monkeypox, okay? Improve the energy efficiency of homes, offices, or modes of transportation. Think that on nowadays, the solar energy, how it can conserve the energy, okay, than the hydroelectric energy. So, green technology, or it is how it is manifested to conserve the energy. This applied ones, okay, application of the methods and ideas there is from in basic research isn't used here. It wants to apply and tailored knowledge to address a specific practical issue towards development of more efficient technologies or particular way of doing things. Okay, always think that one, the name itself is so that it's the application of the already existing knowledge. It asks, does it work? Okay, whether it can be seen. Next one is the action research. Okay, advances the aims of basic and applied research to point of utilization to the pinpoint. It is concerned with the production of results for immediate application or utilization. Okay, it is the byproduct of basic research and applied research. It improves practices and methods and generates technologies and innovations for application to specific technological situations. It emphasizes here and now, just I want to solve this problem immediately, okay, on this problem. Next one is the correlational research. Of course, it refers to the systematic investigation or statistical study of relationship among two or more variables without necessarily determining cause and effect. Okay, there is no such that we are not so much concerned about cause and effect. Okay, but we will see that in correlation between independent variable and dependent variable. Okay, for example, okay, listening to music lowers blood pressure. Okay, but we will not study that on how much. Okay, but we will conduct and research that on between listening music, whether any relationship between is there to lower the BP or not. Survey, ask people how they feel. Okay, if you think that on yes, we are teaching in an eudoxia, how they feel, the participants will feel, how often they listen, and then compare. Okay, this is also one type of a correlational research. For example, if you see then job performance, okay, isn't job performance or it is having so many components, like mainly is the salary. If more salary is there, okay, any relationship between more salary or an enhanced salary status within job performance, satisfaction in job performance, years of an employed. Okay, these are all the some of the variables which forms as an job performance. So any correlation, positive correlation or negative correlation or no correlation. According to methods, it's an historical method. Okay, it is an also called as a qualitative study. You can go. The purpose is to collect, verify, synthesize evidence to establish facts that defend or refute your hypothesis. Okay, it uses, of course, primary sources, secondary sources, and lots of qualitative data sources, as in logs, diaries, okay, official records, reports. So it is because it is in post facto. Already the event has occurred. Then we'll go back to its origin, how it has happened. Okay, the limitation is that the sources must be both authentic and reliable. So it is an having an applications. Okay, you can see that it helps to see where we came from. Okay, how this generation has came, or and how this human existence is occurred here. Okay, so you can go for a historical research, or why we used to say that when if you see in here, okay, Indian education is the one of the oldest education system in this world. If you want to see that on how they used to what was the teaching learning method in and before independence, or before 500 years, though on that time you can go for an historical research. So it needs, it is having in steps like, and you can identify the research topic, what you want to do it, or what you want to search it historically, formulation of the research problem or in question, data collection, how we can collect the data by different ways, because it is already happened very, very long back. So you can go for a literature review, evaluation of the materials, then data synthesis, then you can report it. Okay, these are the steps. Next research is the descriptive research. It refers to the research that provides an accurate portrayal of characteristics of a particular individual, situation or group. It is, you are describing the phenomena. Descriptive research, also known as an statistical research. These are discovering new meaning, describing what exists, determining the frequency with which something occurs, or in categorizing information, describing it may be in quantitative as well as in qualitative. Okay. It attempts to describe and explain conditions of the present by using subjects or questionnaires. Okay, and it is research that describe the phenomena, like in what you will do in every 10 years. Okay, we'll do a survey. It is a descriptive. How many people are there? How many are in female, male? Okay, how many are in educated? What FFN cost? Okay, this is the way of describing the overall population. It is also called an, you can use as a designer, so as well as a methodology. In short, descriptive research deals with everything that can be counted and studied. Okay, here we will use statistical methods to do it in numerical way. Next, case and field research designs, also called as an ethnographical research. Okay, it is in qualitative way. It uses direct observation to give a complete snapshot of a case that is being studied. Also known about a phenomena. Okay, uses very few subjects. Okay, 2 or 5, very few things. Next is the developmental or in time series research design. Here, actually data are collected at certain points of in time going forward. Okay, it is a progressive study. Okay, there is an emphasis on time patterns and longitudinal growth or in change. Okay, at different intervals, we will collect the data and we analyze it. Next is the quasi-experimental research design. Of course, if you see, then usually the research is classified into experimental research and non-experimental research. Okay, in experimental research we will use 3 variables or in 3 main iconic things: randomization, control, and manipulation. If these 3 are not there, if one is missing, it is called as a quasi. If all are not there, then you can say this is a qualitative design or non-experimental design. This research design, especially this quasi, okay, it is in halfway. This research design approximates the experimental design but does not have a control group. Okay, there is more error possible in the results. Experimental research, of course, everyone knows that it is very, very objective, systematic, controlled investigation for the purpose of predicting and controlling phenomena and examining probability and causality among selected variables. Over here, we will find out that what is the cause and what this cause has having an effect. Okay, for an effect, what's the cause? Okay, always keep it in mind that this is the what you say theme of research. For every effect, there is a cause. Without cause, there is no effect, and for cause causes the effect. For effect, there is a cause. Experimental research design, this is the most appropriate. Okay, we will use randomization, control, and manipulation. Okay, and also assignment pattern randomly. This is the simplest experimental design. Includes 2 variables: independent variable and dependent variable. Then we will find out the how this independent variable is affecting the dependent variable. 2 groups, okay, control group versus an experimental group. Will for an experimental group we will give an intervention, and for a control group placebo we will put. Then we will find out the results. Next, causal, comparative, or an ex post facto research design. This design also attempts to explore cause and effect, okay, relationship where causes already exist and cannot be manipulated. Okay, this is the main point in an ex post facto. Already the situation is already occurred. It uses what already exists and looks for backward to explain why it has occurred. Next is the correlational or prospective research design. It attempts to explore relationships to make predictions, okay, for future. It uses one set of subjects with two or more variables for each. Next one is the exploratory research. Of course, it is a type of research conducted that has not been clearly defined, okay, to explore it. It helps to determine the best research design, data collection, what you can use, and a selection. Okay, it is always in the assumed way. Exploratory can be quite informal, relying on secondary research, okay, because we are exploring it, okay, through literature or qualitative approaches, or such as informal discussions, okay, within consumers or with the patients, employees, management, or those who are involved in that one, and more formal approaches through in-depth interviews, focus groups, okay, project methods and case studies or pilot studies, okay. Next one is the phenomenological research. It is, of course, it is a qualitative research. It is a very, very inductive in nature. Descriptive research approach developed by phenomenological philosophy to describe an experience as it is actually lived by the person. Okay, very, very important. Think that on phenomenology is a philosophy. Okay, it is concerned with the study of an experience from the perspective of the individual, bracketing taking for granted assumptions and usual ways of perceiving. They are based on a paradigm of personal knowledge of and subjectivity, emphasize the importance of personal perspective and interpretation. Very, very important. Of course, it is a subjective, gaining insight into people's motivations and actions, cutting through the clutter often taken for granted assumptions and conventional wisdom. Okay, because here the researcher has to become ingrained with them, then we have to find out the data. So if you see this research, okay, usually it is in qualitative, quantitative, and also the newer way is in both who can use, okay, as a mixed method. General approaches to research in social sciences, we are having later, okay, as in qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is purely analysis, okay, understanding of human behavior. Why people will react like this, okay, why they behave like this, okay, reasons that govern such as in behavior involves the data using words from interviews, pictures, objects, okay. But in quantitative involves analysis of numerical data and their relationship, okay. Always it is in we express the results in a quantitative way in the numbers. Qualitative research is dealing with phenomena that are difficult or impossible to quantify mathematically, such as belief. Okay, think that on today is in India we celebrate Naga Panchami. Okay, usually in Naga Panchami we worship snakes. Why you have to worship snakes in this day or in this week only? Okay, because it is a belief. Okay, if you worship the naga or snakes, okay, we assume or we believe that it will not harm. Okay, this is a way of doing it. Okay, why? Meanings. Okay, what's the importance of celebrating or it is a festival? Why we have to do it? Attributes and symbols. Qualitative researchers aim to gather an in-depth understanding of human behavior and the reasons that govern such behavior. Very, very important, because behavior is a very, very complex phenomenon. It is having thoughts, okay, what is their cognitive, and affective or psychomotor. These are the three combinations will give rise to a behavior, okay. So when you will do in research, okay, qualitative will comes to know that why people will act or why they behave like this and how they will take in decision making, not just what fair and pen. Always it is an inductive in nature, okay, because it forms as a theory. Explore factors that could explain why a given event occurs. 5, okay, establish patterns or develop theory for understanding how and why an event occur. If you see it, very, very important, okay, usually in January 14th, okay, it's in Makar Sankranti in India. In Makar Sankranti, okay, usually in Kerala, okay, they will get light, okay, it automatically occurs at a fixed time, at a fixed place. Why it occurs? So what is the it is a phenomenon. Why it occurs? Okay, how people believe that one and why it is. So when you will go for it qualitative research, okay, you have to have an knowledge of what is this, okay, social self, then actual perspective. You can design the study, whether it is an phenomenological grounded, okay, or ethnographic study. You can collect the data, or you can be with them and you can have your own, then you can analyze by your own self. Otherwise, you're using an NVO softwares or another softwares, then you can interpret and you can publish it. Okay, this is the way of doing a qualitative research. Next, come to quantitative research. Okay, always it is a deductive in nature, from theory to real fact. We will come back. Okay, from larger to very, very specific. It establishes cause and effect relationship, relate occurrence of a variable within other variables. Okay, especially independent variable and dependent variable. And there are so many types of variables. Are there secondary variables, primary variables, and confounding variables? Okay, it establishes generalization for prediction and control. Of course, it is a systematic empirical investigation of any phenomena by a statistical, mathematical, or computational techniques. Okay, we will apply it. The objectives of this one is to develop and employ mathematical models, theories, hypotheses pertaining to phenomena. We will frame the hypothesis, we will test it by mathematical or statistical things, then we will derive the inference. Okay, this is the beauty of quantitative research. Here also, you can select the topic. Okay, you can focus the question, you can frame in an objectives, you can design the study, you can collect it by different methods, then you can analyze by using different softwares like an SPSS, SAS, R, okay, Stata, then you can interpret, then you can disseminate the findings. Then some of the times you cannot if you want to do both, okay, you cannot assess it fully qualitatively or in quantitatively. If you selected data for one things, okay, both you can use it. It is called the mixed methods. Mixed methods of research is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing of both quantitative and qualitative methods in a single study, okay, to understand a research problem. Mainly, it is combination provide a better understanding of the research problem. This is the way of you can mix the designs, okay, mixed methods, okay, in qualitative, quantitative, okay, at an data collection, at an data analysis, and then when you are using the techniques, okay, sampling, okay, you can mix up, you can take for an one that is an probability sampling, and another one is a non-probability sampling. So research plan is always, it is a logical description how data would be collected and analyzed to solve the research questions. So you can combine it in as an data, qualitative data as an quantitative data. Okay, you can have a quantitative data by a questionnaire, survey, census, then by attendance records, okay, and having a checklist. By qualitative, you can go and you can interview the people, okay, persons, those are respondents, by observation, by focus group for discussions, document studies, case study, and AVA, audiovisual materials. You can use it for an collection the data. Then you can combine both and you can do the study. Then you can find out, okay, quantitative data and qualitative data, you can find out, you can compare the findings, then you can disseminate the findings. Okay, this is known as a mixed method. Next comes to research gap. Okay, very, very important one. Okay, research, this picture will tell that one, what is there, what you want to expect it. Okay, there is a gap. Okay, there is a somewhere, okay, having a loopholes that it is not connecting, okay, it is disconnected. This filling is known as a research gap. It is a problem which is not covered properly. It may be stemming from deficiency of an appropriate data to support the thesis title or your literature gap, which means that lacking or an incomplete piece of an information in the academic research literature which is not investigated or studied. So it is an insufficient data restrict the ability to conclude a research question. Okay, somewhere you will see that on when you go very in-depth review of literature, you will comes to know that on somewhere it is done and now it is existing. Somewhere you can say that on the loophole or you will not find any data. Okay, this is known as a research gap. We are investigating a research problem. What is the best mention for usually in heart attacks? Okay, you can find out by several researchers and potential answers to the research problem. But research gap identify a knowledge gap or an unexplored area on which you can base your research. So how to identify? There are so many ways of identifying the research gaps. First, you have to have your own issue or a question, motivating things. Okay. Then identify keywords, okay, in your research problem, okay, mainly which is more what you are finding out, okay. Then do a very in-depth literature review by using the keywords, okay. You can use the so many softwares like Mendeley, then Jotiro, EndNote, okay. And also there are so many PubMed, okay, databases. Then you will find out that on research gaps, okay. Review of literature cited by the prominent publications. Then of course there are several methods out there who can be summarized. So you can find out on published literature for inspiration, okay. Go for an, okay, very well known Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, okay, WAS, so many journals, okay, so many databases will help you to know the research gap. Ask your research advisor, okay, contact with your guide, elders, okay, they will help you to find out, okay. Check prominent journal websites, study each question, okay, on which they have done it, okay. Using digital tools to look for in this one, I told you that on mentally, okay, then research gaps, it will help you to find out, okay. Make your questions a note. Then how to eliminate it, okay. Usually you have to see that on this is known as an Pico approach: population, intervention, comparison, and outcomes framework, okay. Proposed framework includes two major components: identification and classification of the reasons of why the research gap exists, okay. Then you can use an Pico approach for filling the gap. Choose the important reasons why it is occurring, okay. Existence of why the gap is there, okay. Why they have not done within this area or within this time the research, and conclude it. So on that time you can go for research gaps, maybe insufficient and imprecise information, okay, biased information somewhere, okay, inconsistency or unknown consistency, then no, not the right information you get. So you can having at a population information regarding the population that is not adequately represented, then maybe at a gender, ethnicity, age, okay. These are all the things which makes you find out the research gap at the population at an intervention level, okay. Specific intervention, okay, where it's not an evidence based, okay. Then duration. Next, comparison. Lack of information regarding the comparison of an intervention or a standard intervention, okay. Then outcomes, information regarding outcomes of interest, organized by type of an outcome or a timing of outcomes to delineate where information is lacking, okay. Next is the setting. So whether they have done exactly at a community or in lab, whether it is having other aspects, information regarding the relevant settings for research gaps. So Pico, okay, approach will help you to find out research gaps very easily. Next comes a research question. Okay, what is this research question? A research question is the which the research sets out to answer. What you want to answer it. It is a specific inquiry which the research seeks to provide a response to. It's the first step. Okay, we have to frame a research question. It narrows down a broad topic of interest into a specific area, because think that on you are doing a study in cancer, okay, on cancer. Cancer is having a very broad area on which one you have to frame a question on exactly what you want to do it. So whenever you are choosing a research question, it must be very relevant to the topic, okay. If it is not relevant, then you will end up somewhere, and it must be interesting, that it has to give in curiosity to you to find out what is there, what will be. It is focused and specific and researchable. Always keep it in mind, okay. RIFR, okay. Relevant, interesting, focused, and researchable. So when you frame in a research question, okay, come to from an working knowledge of the topic, okay, from a very broad area, then you come to narrow down it. Then working questions, whether you can, it is practical, okay, find out the gap, okay. Then frame the research questions, which is very specific. So broader to very specific. Then if you see in practical things, okay, practical problems, maybe purpose, aim and objectives, okay, which motivates you, you can frame the research question, you define it, then operationalize it, the research problem, okay, then find an research answer. Then sometimes maybe by through concept, okay, conceptual problem, okay, which motivates me from pure or basic research, it gives rise to research question, you define it, find the methods, okay, then answer it, then solve it, then you can assimilate. So some of the times, okay, practical versus research problem, okay, practical problem is an unbearable situation in the real world, okay, like what is that one? Unhappiness, pain, material cost, social cost. If you see then today, okay, everybody is having in practical problems, okay, very enhanced cost of living. It is a problem, research problem, not knowing or not understanding something, okay, cost of not knowing, okay, these are the some of the things which helps, okay. So how are you to frame it? Practical problem, an aging population leads to more fall injuries, of course. These injuries are costly in terms of mental, social and economical cost, okay. It has becomes a burden. If think that when if say 70 years or 75 years, okay, individual in the family has broken the leg or he cannot move or in bedridden, how much is the research or an problem, what is the practical things, okay. So how we can construct the research problem, what do we know about the causes of falls among seniors, okay, why they will fall, okay. What do we know about the role of an information technology in preventing falls from seniors, okay, what whether this IT systems will helps you to prevent the falls. So we're having two types of questions. It is called the non-rigorous research questions that are not asked, not answered. Okay, if it is an yes or no answers, okay, it gives means you cannot go for an research. Also, if it will not produce any new knowledge, okay, and symmetry of an outcome. If it is too broad, also, okay, then you cannot conclude it or you cannot do research. And if it isn't so restricted or narrow, and that includes presumptions, okay, if it is there you cannot so go for an research process. So on that time, okay, you have, it must be in very focused, okay, when you are selecting the or when you are framing the research question. Identify the right paradigm, okay, having a positivist, interpretive and very critical in nature, okay. Drive the right research design, okay, very important. Research design will move will takes you to solve the problem, okay. So what type of research design, whether you can go for research study, okay, whether qualitative, quantitative or in mixed designs, okay, then otherwise on survey. Drive the management of the research project, okay, it needs some time, resources, okay, and other dependencies, okay, you have to keep it in mind, whether you can assess it acceptable, okay, all the things you have to keep it in mind while framing the research question. So it must be very focused from in research area, then select the topic, then frame the research question. So it must, when you are having in focus, especially in a qualitative way, it must have in coherence. You can use it for an understanding, exploring, interpreting, and constructing, explaining, okay. Use relevant nouns like an experiences to find out, okay, feelings, okay, views, perceptives, and knowledge, okay. Like you can use the methodology, you can select it as a grounded theory, action research, exploratory, ethnography, okay. How we will go, what will be studied, who will be studied, who will the participants, okay, when, where, what will be studied, how it will be, and why it will be studied. For example, okay, aging and information technology, okay, how the focus will be helps, topic falls, okay, then research quota, what do we know about the role of an information technology in preventing falls, okay. Then empirical evidence, IT and the falls of an among elderly. What are the systems which is shown actually reduce the falls, okay. Then you can frame it as how can IT system will help seniors or in older people to comply with preventive exercises. Then how this system X to promote exercise, Y and N elderly living in nursing home at some place, okay. This is the way of focusing. After framing the questions, okay, we have to have a data collection. We have to collect the data. It is the process by which the researcher collects the information needed to answer the research problem. Or when you frame the question, we have to have the data. Okay, how we have to collect? Okay, this is known as the data collection. The task of data collection begins after research problem has been defined and research design chalked out. Okay, so you have to keep it in mind which of the resources are there. Okay, credibility of the study, analysis and reporting, resources, and the skill of the evaluator. This all depends upon the choosing the file collecting the data. Usually data is in two types. One is the primary data and secondary data. Primary data is nothing but the first time and also the researcher in himself collects. Okay, secondary is already collected by someone and we will use it. Collection of primary data by doing experiments, surveys, interviews, observation, questionnaires, and schedules. Like an observation method is a method under which data from the field is collected, and the help of an observation by the observer or personally going to the field, they will observe. It may be defined as a systematic viewing coupled with consideration of seen phenomena. So how we will use observation is a method of data collection. Okay, determine what to observe, where, okay, on whom, participants. Okay, you can use the randomly depending upon the research question, conduct the observation and compile all the data, then interpret it. So observations may be structured or unstructured. Structured is what you want to do. It is a standardized one. Okay, what to observe, how much you have to observe. If it is not there, it is known as an unstructured observation. Participant observation, here the researcher will involve, and non-participant, here the researcher will not involve. Uncontrolled observation is it takes a natural condition. Okay, just viewing it. Okay, it's known as an uncontrolled observation. It is done to get spontaneous picture of the life and persons. Controlled observation, here we are arranged the plans. Okay, when to do with an experimental procedures, then it is called as an controlled observation. Usually we will do in a laboratory. Okay, in a psychological way. Okay, to find out the behavior, it is a controlled observation. Of course, observation is the best way to how to get in large data. Okay, you can see, you can get the observations as an usable. Okay, you can use the techniques. Then of course it is an inexpensive in nature. Having in disadvantages. Okay, it is goes to bias. If you are not so prefixed, it is expensive. You may what to say, you may forget it. Okay, you may overlook some of the times. Okay, on the time you will be having a limited information, and you need an training to observe, how to observe. Next one is the interview method. Okay, this is also very, very important, and also method of data collection. It is an oral verbal based stimuli. Okay, you can you can ask the questions, then you can collect the data. So on that time, when you have to have a schedule. Okay, it's known as an interview schedule. Prepare interview schedule. Okay, what to ask, how many questions out, how much time I have to ask. Select the subject on whom, keep respondents, conduct the interview, analyze. Okay, and compile it. So these interviews may be structured, unstructured. Structured is it is having your own preceded questions, then you'll ask. Unstructured, just you will go on asking it, then you collect it. Focused one is a given experience of the respondent, its possible effects. Clinical interviews, usually we will do it on a single patients or in multiple patients with some of the objectives. Group interviews, here 6 to 8 people will use it in a group, then we interview them. Qualitative and quantitative interviews, dividing on the basis of the subject, whether you want to collect the data in a numeric way or in a qualitative way. So individual interviews, interviewer meets a single person and interviews them. Selection of interviews, of course, we will do for the jobs. It is also having an advantages of you can collect a very in-depth information from an interview. Okay, not only the information, you can observe it. Okay, you can observe his how he dress up. Okay, what is his non-verbal communication. Resistance may be overcome by a skilled interviewer. Personal information can be obtained. Okay, sometimes they will not reveal or hesitate on the time. If you maintain a very good rapport, okay, we will use a solar model to view this. Okay, for assessing. It is a very expensive. Interviewer bias. Okay, it gives rise to if it is an positive. So we have to be neutral. Okay, respondent bias. Then it is time consuming. Next one is the very widely used the questionnaires. Okay, a questionnaire is sent by post or an mail to collect the data. Of course, you will frame the questions, then you will tell them to answer it. So how you can do this one? By preparing the questions correctly, formulate it, okay, order them, write instructions how to answer, then you can make the copies, then you can send it. Select the respondents, okay, select the samples, administer the questionnaire, okay, give the date, time, okay, maybe by face-to-face, by mail, then you collect the data, tabulate them, then analyze by SPSS or an SAS or an R or an Python. Questions may be open-ended questions to get in very, very in-depth information, or they will write in their own words. It's known as an open-ended, closed-ended, or fixed-ended, having a multiple choice questions or an fill in the blanks or match the following. Okay, these are a fixed alternative. Whenever, whatever the questionnaire is there, it must be very, very short and simple, easy. Follow a sequence of questions, okay, from simple to complex, okay. Technical terms should be avoided, okay, if it isn't because it depends upon the to whom you are administering it. Should provide adequate space for answers in the questionnaire. Okay, so when you are framing in a questionnaire as a tool, okay, you frame it very, very diligently, very systematically, and give space for them to answer. Have a sequence, have logically you have to fill it, okay, and it must be very, very simple. Directions regarding the filling of questionnaire should be given physical appearance, okay, quality of paper, color, okay, it must be very, very attractive, and they have to feel happy to write or to give an answer. Sequence must be clear. Having an advantages, of course, within a short time, and also by spending it, you can collect a large information. You can free from interviewer bias, okay, respondents have adequate time to think and they can write, okay. Sometimes they may be hesitating in some other, like in an interview, but here they can express it by maintaining the confidentiality. Respondents for not easily approachable, you can approach them. Large samples can be used. For this one, you need in time, okay. Respondents need to be educated and cooperative. Those are an illiterate, okay. You cannot use this method. This method is slow and it takes time. Possibility of an unclear replies. Next is the schedules. Very similar to questionnaire method, but the main difference is that a schedule is filled by the enumerator who is specially appointed for the purpose. Okay, here not the directly the researcher, or here he trains or she trains the somebody, then they will collect it. It is known as a schedule. Enumerator goes to the respondents, asks them the questions from the questionnaire in the order list, and then records the responses. It of course here we have to train the trainer. Next, questionnaire and schedule. If you see, usually we'll send through mail or this one, then of course it is cheaper, and here in questionnaire it is an non-responses will be more, because they may respond, they may not respond it, okay, depends on the quality of the questionnaire. But in schedule is filled by the enumerator or the research worker. Costly, requires field workers because you have to train them. It needs time and then money and other resources. And non-response is very, very low, okay, very, very important, because you the trainer goes and collects the questionnaire, or and will ask the data from the samples, relatively more correct and complete in nature. So with this one, the success of research starts with choosing and framing the right questions to help to collect the most valid and objective responses. Avoid bad research questions like loaded or negative questions that can be misleading and adversely affect the research data and outcomes. With this one, I thank all of you for patient listening. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Now the floor is open for a discussion.